Good morning, everybody. We'll just be getting started in a minute. Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm just giving everybody a few more seconds to get started. But for those of you that have joined us so far, just wanted to say thank you for joining us today for this webinar where we're going to be talking about Salesforce for not-for-profits and supporting the many different needs of organisations in the not-for-profit sector. Okay, so just to get started properly, I want to introduce myself firstly. I'm Joyce Harman and I'm one of the consultants at Hart Square. And I'm delighted that we have Leanne McGorry with us today from Salesforce, to really expand on, some of the, the challenges and things that people have around understanding, the other options that there are with Salesforce. So Leanne, if you'd like to introduce yourself quickly.
Good morning, Joyce. Lovely to see you. Yes, thank you for that invitation. Thanks everyone that's joined us today. So I look after all of our nonprofit sales across salesforce.org, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that as we get going. I've worked in nonprofit technology for 18 years across the UK, Europe, Australia, New Zealand. So hopefully it's really good to engage with you today and bring some of those learnings and experience.
Perfect, thanks, Leanne. This is one of the main purposes for today really is, everybody knows Salesforce. I think it'd be a very hard push to find somebody out there who hasn't heard of Salesforce. So, it's a very well-known CRM system, but the full range of its capabilities are not really understood. Often we get questions around that. What else can Salesforce do? We're just using it for fundraising. We don't think we're getting the best out of it. So what we really wanted to do today was to talk about how the Salesforce technology can be more impactful within this sector, within the non-profit sector. What are the other technologies out there? How can you link things together so that you have that sort of better understanding of, how Salesforce really can benefit the things that you're trying to do as a non-profit organization. So just to go through quickly some of the boring housekeeping rules. So just saying that this session is going to be recorded and will be available afterwards. There's a Q&A box for questions, and we really do want, and I know Leanne is really keen to get questions. We want this to be a useful session and answer those questions that you have. So any questions that you have, if you please put those into the Q&A box, and we'll be going through them, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end. But also there is a chat box, and that's really for if you've got any technical questions or sort of general questions and that are not, specific questions around the topic. If you put those into the chat box, and my colleague Rebecca is working around the background and she's keeping an eye on those. And also we just say to check that your microphone is on mute. We're going to also be running 2 quick polls this morning, and we really ask you to fill in those polls, to take part in those, because it'll really give us an idea of sort of where you are with regard to using Salesforce, some of the things you might be thinking of using Salesforce for. It just helps with Leanne to have a better idea when she's giving some examples and talking through her presentation this morning. So just a quick slide for those of you who don't know. We'll say we're Hart Square, and just really to say we are a consultancy practice and work only in the not-for-profit sector, and that we are independent of any technologies of providers. So what I'm going to do now is just quickly run 2 quick polls. So if you bear with me while I get the technology to work. And the first poll that we want to launch is just really to understand, are you currently using Salesforce? So if you could answer this one. So really trying to understand, who's using it? Are you thinking about it? Have you got it, but it's not working for you and you're thinking of moving away for it? So I'm just going to give that another few seconds, and then I will share the results. Perfect, thank you. Okay, so if I enter the poll.
Well, that's a great mix, isn't it, Joyce? It's a really nice mix.
Let me share the results so everyone can see. So yeah, it really is. So we've got half of the delegates that absolutely are using it, but 31% that are not. And yeah, quite a good that are considering it. So I think for the people considering it as well, this would be a great idea for if you've got any questions that you want to know that will help you make that decision when you're considering it, please do put them in. And I think Leanne, you'll be glad to see that nobody said that they're moving away from it. But we always think it's important to ask that question.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Perfect. Okay, and then I just wanted to then, let me stop sharing that one, and then I'll bring up the second poll, which, let me just launch that. So this is multiple choice. So multiple, you can fill in multiple ones. Terrible English. So what we're really looking for here, and I know Leanne, this will be really useful for Leanne, is, you know, what capabilities do you use currently with Salesforce, or that you might be considering that you think would be relevant for you? And it's great, a great mix coming in. I'll just give that another couple of seconds, and then I'll share those results.
Yeah, I'll say these are all capabilities on, you know, that Salesforce offers. So it's going to be, I know we talked about this, Joyce, it'd be really interesting just to see again what the mix and the interest is, and it looks really quite varied again.
Let me just quickly end that poll, and then I will share the results with everybody. So yeah, Leanne, as you said, if you want to kind of comment on sort of where the mix lies, there definitely seems to be fundraising and membership management seem to be the two leaders in the poll.
Yeah, and a real cross-section of everything, and I think that's maybe representative of organisations that maybe use some of those capabilities, the Salesforce platform, but then others that are interested in do all of those things. So hopefully today's session will be quite informative to give you a sense of some of the capabilities and some of the ways that it can be impactful.
Perfect, great. And I think maybe as well for, you know, for those of you who, you know, really do, you know, that whole question, what are the other technology and things it can do? You know, this is a great sort of list, a great sort of taster of the different options that there is. Okay, great. So let me stop sharing, and then I will stop sharing my deck, Leanne, so then you can bring up your slides. This is where we have to do the technical handover, so you have to bear with us for a moment.
Here's where we test our technical skills. Right, so Joyce, you let me know if you can see my little lion heart.
Yes, we're all good to go.
You can, fabulous. Well, thank you, Joyce. And as Joyce kindly let me introduce myself, my name is Leanne. I've worked in nonprofit technology for most of my career, and it's really great to be here in this online event, sharing some insights and information. Today, I'm here to talk about Salesforce for nonprofits, and to give you some insight on how we can support any nonprofit in various different areas of work. I think that most nonprofits know that Salesforce has some fundraising capabilities. Certainly when we're in the nonprofit sector and part of the nonprofit sector, we talk a lot about the impact that you can drive through fundraising on Salesforce. But there's lots of other capabilities, lots of other ways that you can use their technology. So even if you have a different donor database, a different CRM, you can still avail from the other capabilities on the platform. So I'll touch on some of those in just a sec. Okay, but a quick legal bit. So because Salesforce is a publicly traded company, and because I'm talking about functionality today, I need to show this very wordy statement. And the too long didn't read, TDLR, is if you're considering purchasing products or services, make those decisions on solutions available today, which of course the Salesforce team can help you differentiate between. And before we begin, it's really always an honour to have nonprofit staff take valuable time to listen to a session like this. So I wanted to thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for giving me some of your time today. And I'll start with briefly introducing Salesforce. Salesforce as a company, and then explain our connection with the nonprofit sector and where we hope that we bring value to the sector. We really feel like we're part of the sector, and I wanted just to touch on some of that before we get into salesforce.org. Now, I think Salesforce is an incredible technology company. We power the work of 200,000 organisations around the world, and we're actually in our 7th year of being rated the #1 CRM in the world from the IDC, and the 4th year as top company to work for in Europe from Great Places to Work. So it's great to be part of a company that's so innovative and has such a strong culture. But we are more than just a commercial technology company. And when we talk about stakeholder capitalism, it's an interesting term, but what it means is it's a system in which corporates are oriented to serve the interests of all of the stakeholders. And we believe at Salesforce that stakeholders, not just shareholders, and these are the 4 pillars for Salesforce. And those 4 pillars are really here to help us leverage the nonprofits. Well, we use these 4 pillars to help drive impact for the nonprofit sector. And we want to help improve the state of the world. So you can see here on the left-hand side, first is philanthropy. Just last year, we donated over $1 billion in discounted technology and staff time We give out huge amount of grants in our own as part of our own foundation. We also have a big focus on workforce development. We also offer a huge amount of pro bono. In the Salesforce world, all of our employees are encouraged to give up to 7 days of work time as volunteering time. So lots of pro bono projects and lots of volunteering. We're leading in the 1 trillion trees initiative to try and replant 1 trillion trees around the world. Salesforce announced yesterday that we are net zero and fully renewable. And then what we're here to talk about today is product. So in the Salesforce world, the way that we started out was to really try and democratize the innovative technology from the Salesforce platform back into the technology sector. And so what we've done in the product world is we've actually built a number of different clouds or sort of pre-packaged technology to support the needs of the nonprofit sector. Salesforce offers 10 free licenses to every registered charity around the world. And it's been a great way to give back, and I'll touch on that in just a second, but wanted also just to touch on some of those ways that we give back. And also, it's not just about our values. We really, when we think about the growth of the company, we put the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals at the front of everything that we do. And as you know, being in the sector, the goal of these goals is to help solve the world's biggest problems over the next 10 years. And at this point in time, we really need to accelerate the progress towards those goals. We work specifically on 6 of the goals. And so we think we're making a really positive impact through our corporate investments and our employees' efforts. So that's just a bit of a sense of Salesforce as a company and how we think about giving back to the sector. But let me just touch then on salesforce.org. I am the country leader for salesforce.org in the nonprofit team. And for those of you not familiar with salesforce.org, we're a dedicated business unit within Salesforce for the nonprofit and education sectors. And we like to say that we are the heart of Salesforce because we help power the causes and the passion of the nonprofit sector. And this is our little Lionheart. He represents salesforce.org. And here's just a little snapshot of the types of organisations that we work with. In the UK and Ireland, we work with just under 3,500 nonprofits across all sizes and all causes, from international NGOs such as Greenpeace and UNICEF to smaller community organisations such as Made in Hackney or Coder Dojo. And so the other thing is that 2/3 of our nonprofit customers use those 10 free licenses, which I mentioned. And I hope that conveys that we really do have solutions to fit the needs of all sizes of nonprofit. I will have a word of caution though. Free doesn't always mean free. So there is the ability to have those 10 free licenses for any registered nonprofit. But just because you have no annual commitment to a software package doesn't necessarily mean that will get you up and running straight away. When you implement a new solution, you often have to tailor and tweak things to suit your language, to suit your needs, to train your team, to bring your data across. But I did want to get to mention that we do have those 10 free licenses and a 30-day free trial as for all of our solutions. And that scales from the smallest nonprofit to the largest. And I've got a couple of customer stories and I can talk through more when we have questions later. In addition to those 3,400 nonprofits in the UK and Ireland, we work with 52,000 nonprofits globally. And so we really think that there's some great examples that should resonate with every nonprofit and every different need. Okay, so at Salesforce, we talk about the power of our platform. And what that really translates to is that we have an incredible platform, which is trust first, digitally ready, and I think unparalleled innovation available to all 200,000 of our customers. So if you think about the platform, the technology, what we've then done within salesforce.org is we've built the nonprofit cloud. A nonprofit cloud is a set of capabilities, tools, workflows, reports, and language specific to the nonprofit sector. So when an organization uses nonprofit cloud, they're not starting from scratch. You're not building capabilities from scratch. We actually start with an incredible foundation of capabilities that are used by our 52,000 nonprofit customers. And with our nonprofit customer and partner community, we then take advantage of the core platform features to create nonprofit specific solutions. And so the capabilities in nonprofit cloud alone include marketing engagement, fundraising, program management, which actually has a few different layers, and grants management. And so as I mentioned before, Salesforce is known for our fundraising solution. the Nonprofit Success Pack offers pre-built functionality for fundraising teams, but we also support nonprofits in many other different ways. So those I've mentioned on Nonprofit Cloud, but on the platform, there are other capabilities that nonprofits can use. So not dedicated to the Nonprofit Cloud, but there are also, there's commerce, call center or service center, there's online community, and a huge number of digital engagement tools, social media tools, as mentioned in the marketing engagement piece. Some great innovation that's happened even just in the last year. So in the last year, we released Vaccine Cloud, Sustainability Cloud, and so solutions for the corporate world that we hope accelerate the work of the nonprofit sector. And here's a nice stat: 87% of nonprofit customers say that their data is more centralized, easier to access, and ultimately increases transparency for their organization. So that's one of the points I wanted to try and get across today. Two things. You're not starting from scratch when you use Salesforce technology. You don't have to build it from scratch. We have built accelerators and data models to suit the nonprofit needs. And there are more capabilities than just fundraising. So actually, you could use Nonprofit Cloud just for program management, case management, impact measurement. You could use it just for Marketing Cloud, online engagement, and link those to your other systems. So I wanted then just to talk a little bit about what we're seeing in the sector. At Salesforce, we're really fortunate that we have the ability with the resources and the budgets to be able to go out and do lots of research into what's going on in the community. So we survey nonprofits, our customers, and we also survey individuals, supporters, beneficiaries, volunteers. So we all know the world has changed in a lot of ways over the past year, and we've been talking to our customers. So the changes here are really not likely to surprise you. In our Nonprofit Trends report, which is a report in its third year, and I can share the link with you, it's certainly on our salesforce.org website, 75% of nonprofits reported an increased demand for programs. And at a time when many nonprofits had to revise strategy and often restructure staff, the cause became even more important. And then with in-person services proving difficult because we were mostly at home, moving to digital and understanding client needs became a more important need. And so we really saw new operating models have to come through. So new operating models for managing your cause remotely and an increased demand for data management and transparency. And in our Nonprofit Trends report, we also saw that 78% of nonprofits had to invest more in technology to help employees work from home. And 74% of nonprofits said that measuring and reporting on data was still a challenge. So lots changed in the last year, and I'm sure you all know that just as much as me. So when we think about the capabilities in the Salesforce platform, I wanted first to talk about managing programs. Now, programs in the sector, of course, are varied across an incredible span of the sector, from literacy programs to food banks to healthcare services to animal welfare. As we talked about already, we know that nonprofits are adapting to how you respond to demand, transparency, and then measuring impact and outcomes, a topic for another day, I think. But by moving from spreadsheets and paper to cloud technology, nonprofits can bring all program processes into one place. And so we hope that allows more efficiency, better reporting, and ultimately allowing you to scale your programs and services. And by bringing that into one single system, hopefully then makes that easier to report accurately at any given time, and help you understand what sort of interventions are needed by cross-referencing all of that external data. So we built functionality on the Nonprofit Cloud. So program management functionality is something that was released into the Nonprofit Cloud just over a year ago. So what we wanted to do was give our customers a standard framework to start tracking programs, services, and beneficiaries. So if you look at, you can see some reports here in the screenshots from Nonprofit Cloud. What we'd aimed to do was give our nonprofit customers the ability to really fine-tune and deliver the best programs and services, identify those in need of immediate attention so that you could ensure continuity of services, allowing you to scale the capacity of your staff and understand your most impactful programs. And here's another little sort of deeper dive into some of the capabilities in program management on Nonprofit Cloud. So you can see here tracking programs and services, save time by setting up recurring services for groups or individuals. So for example, if you have a Monday and Wednesday workshop that were the same, a Tuesday and Thursday workshop that were the same, the ability to templatize that and roll those out very quickly and easily. Become more productive and impactful when delivering those programs. We wanted to do that by replacing time-consuming, manual, repetitive processes with automation. So helping you increase that, meet those increased demands, create and manage small groups, manage attendance, and have service insights delivered to you with dashboards and reports. So again, this is capability that's available on the platform that you can tweak and tailor based on the needs of your nonprofit and the types of services that you deliver to your beneficiaries. We've also got some great stats. You can see here, every year we survey our customers, and when it comes to running programs, our customers are seeing success in every metric. The survey last year was for 1,400 of our customers using Salesforce to manage programs, and Nonprofit Cloud helped their effectiveness and decreased costs. So you can see here a 31% decrease in service costs, 35% increase in engagement, 43% increase in client satisfaction, 48% increase in service utilisation, and a 50% decrease in admin and reporting time. A lot of times, what we found with customers that we're working with is a move away from spreadsheets, access databases, or sometimes even pen and paper. So bringing that into one place where everyone can see the same data. And to bring that to life is a little case study. Now, it's a US story, but I love it. It's a fantastic one. For those of you not familiar with Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America, Big Brothers, so what they do is they match bigs, mentors, with littles, guardians, people that need mentoring and support. And this charity uses Salesforce technology to manage volunteers, training, resources, conversations, youth development plans, all in one platform. Big Brothers Big Sisters came to us with a really urgent need to try and centralise what was going on across all of their different bigs and littles in a COVID world with people at home. And we were able to set this up in 8 weeks for 200,000 expected users. So fantastic to be able to see the power of the platform and how quickly we can get to meaningful tools and impact. So then I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to sort of click down a little bit on the management of programs and then think about organisations who deliver programs to human or client services. And now I'm looking at the challenge of a case manager. So a case manager that provides care to clients now online instead of in person. Now I know that doesn't always replace in person, but when we had to move to being at home, the needs really changed. So I'm going to share some tools that help. So some of the things that we wanted to enable case managers to do was provide, track and collaborate on care from anywhere with a case management tool, keep in touch with clients through messaging and applications, and even exchange documents. So documents typically signed in person, we moved then to e-signature tools, online document signing. And here are some of the top challenges that we needed to react to as a partner to the sector and as a provider of technology solutions. So 1, 2, some of these might be familiar to those of you who deal with client services or others in your organisation. 1, we can't keep up with the increased demand for our services. 2, our data is stuck in silos. We're lacking real-time insights to inform how we run our programmes. 3, we're losing out in funding because it takes us too long to show the impact of our programmes. 4, our case managers are spending hours recording interactions with clients, and we can't find those notes, that information later. And then 5, we have no visibility over the progress our clients are making. So again, if any of that's familiar to you, I wanted to take you back to the Nonprofit Cloud. So again, the Nonprofit Cloud offers capabilities for case management for any nonprofit. It's a part of program management, and these capabilities have already been built out on the platform. And here's a quick snapshot like before. So in this scenario, where a charity is managing services that supports individuals, tracking their interactions with programs, their different interactions with your organisation, and sometimes tracking the progress of their needs, case management is a great set of tools in the Nonprofit Cloud. So our case management functionality helps organisations manage the entire life cycle of a case or a situation in a single system. So you might be doing, as I've mentioned before, your organisation might be doing this today with spreadsheets or paper or something that doesn't really capture the whole life cycle. Or maybe you're not even able to access that spreadsheet or system when working from home. Because also you're dealing with quite sensitive information when you're dealing with individuals' personal data. That's one of the other things that we've heard is the data risk, the security risk when trying to collaborate with insecure spreadsheets online. So with nonprofit cloud case management, you're able to track all of that, track the services, the case plans, the notes, incidents, assessments, and the outcomes in a single system accessible from anywhere. You might know already that Salesforce is browser-based, it's security first. So giving you and your colleagues the ability to collaborate in one system. And the thing that I talked about earlier, if you have a need to share and sign documents with clients or even with other service providers, we can also support this from within the system. And it gives you a single place to track progress and track governance documents. So send and track those electronic documents and signatures easily. See the status of all those outstanding documents, and then reduce the time from days, posting forms, meeting up with people, having all of that within the system. And we have a couple of options for that, and integrated to Salesforce with DocuSign and Conga. And this is really cool. When you're providing services for clients, we know it can often be hard to keep in touch when you're not seeing them on a regular basis. So we do have a set of tools that help you message customers, and you can actually message customers in the system through SMS text messages, WhatsApp, and even Facebook Messenger. So that helps you meet clients where they are, provide continuous conversational support by messaging them from your desktop or phone. And we actually capture those conversations and link it to the client record and even the case. So whether you're responding back at a later date or a colleague stepping in to pick up that conversation, you can look back and see that single view of the case, of the client, of the communications. And like before, here's a slightly deeper dive. So, excuse me, here's a view of the capabilities of case management, a comprehensive set of options ready to configure and suit your needs. So you can see, I'd mentioned a lot of these as I was sort of talking through the screenshots, but intakes and referrals, case plans, notes tracking, incidents, and ultimately being able to track all of that and view all of the insights and overview of everything in one place. And another little example, I love this example. It's a great one of supporting individuals, and we're really proud of this example. In the midst of the initial lockdown last year, a branch of Age UK asked for our help. Local health centres in Hythe, I can't say now, Hythe and Limeage. So local health centres actually went to Age UK, this branch of Age UK, and asked for their help in checking in on thousands of vulnerable people in the community. And they had no way to centralise this process. Volunteers, they had to sign up volunteers. Those people were all at home. So there was a need to set up tools to identify vulnerable people, coordinate the calls, capture the needs, and set follow-up actions. And we undertook this as a pro bono project. So through the pro bono programme, we were able to set up this small branch office with a centralised system. And within 5 days of launch, there were 80 volunteers, made 2,000 calls with a flow-based call script. So a great story of using those tools within Salesforce to react quickly, to set up something that would help coordinate and to meet the challenge and then support the people in the community that were vulnerable. So I hope that's given you some insight into some of the capabilities of Nonprofit Cloud. When we look at the capabilities on this slide, just a quick reiterate that these functions are standalone, and on our open platform, you can integrate any of these capabilities, any of these functions with other solutions that you use today, or you could use them all. Certainly with Salesforce, you could start with grants management or fundraising management and bring other pieces on. When everything is used on the platform, it's all integrated, it all works together, the data flows really well. But also we can integrate the capabilities with other systems, with fundraising CRMs, with email tools, with grant management packages or other program management packages. So I wanted to give you that sense of ways that you could actually use Salesforce technology in the middle of all of your other technology stack and solutions too. So I hope that's given you a small glimpse into new ways Salesforce could support your organisation. We do have many nonprofit use cases today, and we've covered just 2 of those. Again, thank you for listening. I'm really looking forward to finding out from Joyce if we've got some questions and comments on different topics. If you would like to find out more information or have a more direct conversation, here's my email address. But to get going, please do feel free to contact myself and my team on the email address here. So Joyce, I'm going to stop sharing and pass back.
Perfect, thank you. And yes, we do have some great questions which we'll go through now. And just to say, yeah, please do put in any other questions. I mean, I also have to say, I absolutely love the Lion Hart. I think he's absolutely great. And so I've got loads of thoughts, but rather than my thoughts, if we go through some of the questions. So one I was going to pick on first was around the Big Brother program. So, and I don't know how much detail you can answer in this, and we could always cover it offline if need be. But the question was, how much did the Big Brother program cost to build, and what was the ongoing monthly costs? Again, I know you know everything about Salesforce, Leanne, but I don't know if you can cover that. But I don't know if you could talk about it in a bit of detail.
I don't know that, unfortunately, but it's certainly something that I can, maybe share a little bit of context on. I think in a program like Big Brothers Big Sisters, let's take a sort of theoretical approach. It really depends on the scope of the program. So, I think in the Big Brothers Big Sisters example, it was both CRM, so managing the records of the bigs and the littles, but the key part of that program was actually the online engagement. So as a mentor or a big as a mentor, a guardian as a little, those people could actually, in an online environment, connect with each other, exchange messages, exchange communications, show support. So there's the online piece, and there's also the offline piece, managing and matching. I know that we set it up quickly. I don't know what the investment was, but certainly, if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about what something like that would cost for your organisation, please do feel free to get in touch, and we can give you, what do they call it? People call it like a t-shirt size. Do you see that, Joyce? Roughly what are we looking at? What would the investment be? Of course, it's the investment of your funds, which are we know are we need to be really careful with, but it's also the investment of your time. So we can give you an idea of both. Sorry I couldn't answer that one better, but
not at all. We have a flurry of questions coming.
Right, okay.
So right, let me see where the next one I'm going to pick. Let me just move to this one. So does Salesforce create an online account for the customers out of the box?
I think it depends on the use of the word customer. So let me try and answer in a couple of different contexts. For anyone that's interested in using Salesforce technology, you can actually, on salesforce.org, you can sign up to a free trial. So we have a 30-day free trial where, you can start to poke around and have a look at the capabilities, the reports, things that are available out of the box. And so when you do that, you set up a free trial for your organization, and you can add other people to that trial. Then you have a customer login, and that becomes your login to the Salesforce system. But if the context is more related to your customers, your beneficiaries, we wouldn't do that automatically because it's your data, and you have that sort of data ownership and governance. But it's very easy for you to set an account up for your customers, your beneficiaries, or have them sign up yourself. So it just depends on the nature of your services. If, for example, you have services and customers that you work with already, it's easy to get those imported and set them up with a new account. But it's also just as easy for someone to say, hey, I'm interested in your services and I need some help. So hopefully that's helped answer a few different ways that question could.
Perfect, thank you. A few questions around case management. So I'm going to sort of pick them out so we can do them in a bit of a row. Let me just find the other one. So looking at in case management, is there a module already that captures the financial position of a potential client prior to giving them financial assistance?
Well, there are a lot of configurable fields. So the case management capabilities will certainly give you the ability to capture lots of information about the individuals and potential beneficiaries. So if yours is more related to this sort of financial capacity, then yes, that's a place that we would basically configure. What does your intake look like? What questions would you either ask the potential beneficiary when they're making an application, or that you would set up as a sort of call-based workflow for your team to ask that person when engaging with them. So it's about configuration. There are the tools and options that we then configure to be used based on the way that you deliver services.
Perfect, thank you. And then related to that as well, so my organisation is using Salesforce for fundraising, and how do we integrate case management with our current instance, and does Salesforce support outcomes measurement?
Yes and yes. So because you use Salesforce already, the case management is a user license type. And so what we would basically do is figure out how many people in your organization would need access to the case management object, for that familiar language to you. And so when the case management object has been unlocked, it's then just about configuring it. So again, the data all flows. So if someone is a donor, a previous donor, someone that's has a legacy, has been notified, and also as a client, that information is all available in one place. Now, of course, we then have security in place, so you can decide who gets to see what information about different people from a data protection and governance point of view. So we simply unlock the capabilities. In terms of outcomes measurement, outcomes management, yes, we have those capabilities too. There's a couple of different ways that we can achieve that. One might be through just setting up their sort of KPI outcome measurements. We also have a dedicated ISV in Vera Solutions, who focus more on sort of development outcomes. So it depends on impact measurement, outcome measurement, KPIs for your organisation, but there's a couple of ways that we can achieve that in the existing functionality.
Perfect, thank you. Have you got any examples of further education providers that use Salesforce for managing the delivery of their courses in the UK?
Absolutely. That's Education Cloud. So what we have on Salesforce is two main clouds that we have in the UK and Ireland. Nonprofit Cloud is based on sort of the language and tools for nonprofit, particularly around fundraising and supporters. And for further education, higher education, Education Cloud has slightly different language, because that talks about the student recruitment, student advisor, student mentoring, alumni, donors. So I think what it does come down to is sort of the use cases and the way that you deliver those services. But in Education Cloud, it's everything from class rostering and grade management, and also integration with your student record system. So we can definitely go into that in a little bit more depth if you feel free to get in touch. We have a dedicated higher education team within the Salesforce.org business in the UK.
Perfect, thank you. We are a membership organisation and interested to know if you have any clients who are using Salesforce to manage their members, i.e. acquisitions, management, marketing, etc.
Yes, lots. CIPD is the sort of biggest use case, one of our recent customer stories that comes to mind. So we have fantastic membership management capabilities on the system, and it extends quite far actually, because what you could do is attract, acquire, retain, renew your member base. And then we also have, with Experience Cloud, the ability to create an online membership portal, an online community where members can engage with yourself and with each other. So yeah, there are capabilities, and depending on the sort of levels of sophistication of your membership program, let's say you have tiers with benefits and different categories, there are also ISV options that go a step further. So lots of capabilities, lots of options. Most of it is ready to use, just to be configured. Yeah, we've got some good case studies that I can share with you.
Perfect, thank you. Because you're doing great, Leanne. This is a real testing your brain power.
I'm not even looking at the questions just in case I get myself. Thanks, Joyce.
So another one, can you manage both your CRM and finance systems, General Ledger, on the Salesforce platform? Also, does Salesforce manage gift aid?
Both quite straightforward questions. Yes, there's a gift aid functionality in the system. So the ability to manage your gift aid declarations, lasting gift aid forms, gift aid claims. When you make a gift aid claim, what it will do is stamp back into the financial record that the gift aid has been claimed with all of your sort of tracking information. And then when it comes to integrating to finance systems, my experience, different charities will do this in different ways. Some charities will enter transaction information into their fundraising system or their CRM system, and then enter again into the finance system. You've then got the sort of next phase of, let's call it efficiency, where you do an import, one way or the other. That means you're sort of not having to double enter. But we also have a capability that we've built in the system that we call accounting subledger. And if you imagine that you've set up your campaigns, funds and appeals, that will match to your funds, your accounting funds and your finance system. What you can then do is use the accounting subledger function, which is a fairly new feature we released last year. And what that will do is post on a regular basis, up to you how often you do it, but it will post the transactional information from your CRM system from Salesforce into your accounting package. And again, it will then go back and lock down all of those gifts so that if you have income information being recorded in the system, if that's changed, we're posting adjustments and amendments. So it's a really amazing way to be more efficient, to protect the data and just to reduce a lot of the legwork we have often in reconciliation in the finance team. So I spoke a lot there, but I think the answer to both questions is yes and yes. The integration with accounting subledger, we have integration to most of the major accounting packages.
Yeah, and I mean that's really interesting, and it's a really good question as well, because it's one that comes up all the time. You know, how much do you integrate, you know, your finance system to your CRM? It's always, and I think it'll depend on who you're talking to. If it's an accountant or a membership manager, or fundraiser, it's very different opinions. So which then leads on to a question around fundraising. So we're currently using Raiser's Edge for our fundraising, and it works well, you know, for that function, but it doesn't really deliver everything else. Do we need to replace it, or can we integrate it with Salesforce? So I suppose it's that, you know, do you need to get away from a legacy system, or if it's delivering kind of what you need, can you build off it, I suppose?
I think it really depends on the challenges that you're having and the sort of use cases or examples where it's maybe not working so well. It is a fantastic fundraising system, of course. So I think that the question is, if, let me say, for example, online digital engagement isn't working so well, or volunteer management or case management or grant management, yes, we can integrate any of those use cases, all of those use cases to the Raiser's Edge. So looking at how we exchange data back and forward. I think that one of the things that most nonprofits strive for over the longer term is that true 360-degree view of your supporter. And that's what you can get on the Salesforce platform. So yes, we can integrate to a system like Raiser's Edge, but we think that if you bring all of your fundraising and all those capabilities onto the Salesforce platform, you can actually really level up your fundraising capabilities. Everything from acquisition, retention, reactivation, lifetime value is so powerful in the Salesforce platform. And in particular, where you have that single view of everything else that's going on across your organization, and with, let's call it, fit for purpose tools for those other parts of your charity. So everyone's got tools that suits their needs, and you have that great one single view.
Perfect. And I'm glad to hear the next couple. I've been trying to kind of group these. So these are a bit more really about sort of training and support. So non-techie, so we will let you away from techie ones for the minute. If we implement Salesforce, and actually this is a really interesting question because we get asked this all the time. If we implement Salesforce, do we need a dedicated Salesforce developer in-house?
Not a developer, but you do need an admin. So you know, and I think that's true of any CRM system, any fundraising system, any technology. Certainly, we recommend that you have someone that is your database manager, your database expert, someone that really understands how to get the most out of the system and support the needs of the various users around the organization, not a developer. I think that one of the things I've been trying to sort of give a good sense of is how much of the capabilities and functionalities are available we call it out of the box. So not always ready to use, but certainly configure. And you can work with an implementation partner, a consulting team to do that. We have a wide variety of organizations we work with. But really, to get the most out of technology, we do recommend you have, you know, a database manager, an admin. I can't believe I didn't mention it, Joyce, but I'm going to boast about it now. One of the other amazing things that you have on the Salesforce ecosystem is completely free access to all of our online training. So we have a system that we call Trailhead, and Trailhead is an e-learning system, basically an e-learning training platform. And you don't have to be a customer. Customers, partners, just people in the sector, anyone can use Trailhead and train themselves on Salesforce technology, and also just on industry best practice, marketing best practice, outcomes measurement on that platform. So keep that in mind. You can actually train yourself to be a Salesforce certified expert on Trailhead for free.
That's fantastic, and answers the next question, which was, are there any recommended Salesforce training programs? So as you say, so
yes,
yeah, Trailheads. So that's a really good one, and we can definitely link to that afterwards. Any others or other things?
Yeah. Well, we call them trail maps, right? So we have all these sort of little courses that touch on different topics. But let's say, for example, someone said, I'd love to understand how I can do a fantastic multi-channel acquisition campaign in Salesforce. Then that might be like 3 different courses all stitched together, and we call that a trail map. So actually, please do feel free to get in touch. You can sort of move around yourself and see, but trail maps give you a way to sort of navigate through different systems and learn a whole sort of set of connected processes. And it's designed to help, to really focus on someone's role and how someone needs to use a system like Salesforce. So yeah, there are trailhead and then there are trail maps as well.
Perfect, thank you. And then we just had a follow-up, which we'll follow up separately, was saying, would we mind pointing to an FE provider in England and Scotland so that they can access their experience with using Education Cloud? So I'm sure you'll follow up with that one afterwards.
Yeah, if that individual wouldn't mind, maybe just send me an email, lmcgrory@salesforce.com, and I can follow up. If you're not ready to have that conversation or engage, if you go to salesforce.org and have a look at our you can then navigate to Education Cloud, you can navigate to customer stories, and there's lots of examples of higher education, further education, case studies, user studies. You can see the Education Cloud little wheel with all of the capabilities. But I'm more than happy to have even just a coffee and chat about what you need.
Perfect, thank you. And then our last question for the moment is, can Salesforce give guidance on the future developments of our Salesforce stack? We're not sure who to talk to about future developments. And I do know that this is a big challenge for a lot of people. They don't really know where to go.
Oh, come speak to Salesforce. My goodness. We think that a direct relationship with Salesforce is something that is always been really important to us. And we think it sets us apart from other technology companies. Within the Salesforce ecosystem, we have user groups. There are regular customer success roundtables. We have webinars and events that are coming up. There's it's really interesting, Joyce. We've always had a London user group, so a London non-profit user group. But since we all started working from home and being locked down the pandemic, the last time there was a London user group, I dialed in. We had people from Europe, we had someone from the Middle East. Yeah. The London user group all of a sudden just became a non-profit user group. So there are those sorts of resources that we can tap into. Salesforce, your Salesforce account executive, every Salesforce customer has one, and we have resources available to help you get the most from that. Whether it's a roadmap presentation, a roundtable, there are free customer success sort of roundtable events as well. So if you don't mind, again, please feel free to get in touch. I can link you up with your account executive, and we can make sure we get you some of those insights into what does the next step look like? How can we evolve that stack? So lmcgrory@salesforce.com.
Perfect, and thank you. And that's the one thing I would say is that there is such great resources that Salesforce have and want people to use. So absolutely, reach out, and Leanne then can connect you. So there's sort of all the questions that we've had come in. One actually that I was just going to throw into interest, because just to get your opinion on, when you mentioned that move from paper-based to the cloud, because I know that it's still still a lot of people ask the question around, is the cloud secure? We're used to doing everything our own way for some. Do you still see that as a challenge that in the sector? I know that we, sometimes you think, oh, everybody's understood that the cloud is safe. It's not really an issue anymore. But actually, I kind of think it is still an issue. Do you see that coming up much, or people asking you around that?
I forget the stat, Joyce. I don't know if you know it, but I think there was a recent survey done that said I think 3 in 4 nonprofits had experienced an attempted hack or breach. We get phishing emails, phishing texts, yeah. And I do think we all have to be careful, because the next big breach could just be around the corner. And then we're talking about vulnerable people in our CRM systems. We're talking about affluent people in our donor database. So I think we all have to be really careful. Trust has always been Salesforce's #1 value. And in fact, you can actually navigate to trust.salesforce.com, and that's where we put a very open and transparent view of everything that's going on across our system. And so we place a huge amount of emphasis on having the most secure system. So I think that's one thing that the cloud allows you to do. One, it's outsourced that trust responsibility to someone else, but also it means that if you're dealing with vulnerable individuals or people's data, it's not writing it down on a bit of paper. It's not sharing a spreadsheet over a VPN. It's making sure that we've got it somewhere safe. But I think we all have to be hyper vigilant, because phishing scams and hacks and things are always sort of looming.
Perfect, thank you. Well, I think that's all the questions that we've had for now. And, and as I say, Leanne, you have been brilliant and answered them all, and absolutely putting you on the spot for all of them. So thank you very much. I mean, I think that's been a really, really good insight onto all the other, capabilities. And, when we were, talking in advance of this, talking about really, Salesforce being impactful in the non-for-profit sector. And I think, that's really, really highlights that and the focus as well. So thank you very, very much for joining us this morning, and thank you everybody else for joining us. I hope that's been useful. And yeah, please do reach out to Leanne. We will share her details afterwards as well when we do the follow-up. And Leanne, just to again, thank you very much.
Well, and thanks to you too. So thanks, Joyce, Rebecca, and the Hart Square team. I know everyone's taking some time out to listen to this, whether it's live or later. So really appreciate it. We are here, we're part of the sector, and I think the other thing we like to say is an investment in Salesforce is an investment in the sector, because we really do try and give back. So yeah, please feel free to get in touch. We'd love to have a coffee, virtual coffee or in person. And thanks again.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.